The Galactic Council Station shook like a leaf in a storm. Every wall trembled. Every light flickered. The air itself seemed to cry out in fear. In the center of the great diplomatic chamber stood General Vexthor. He was a dragon, not the mythical kind from Earth stories, but real, 12 feet of pure muscle and rage. His scales were black as midnight, each one harder than steel. Heat waves rippled around his massive body, making everything nearby shimmer and blur. His eyes burned. They looked like two small suns, blazing with fury that could melt metal. Those eyes stared at a holographic screen floating in the air before him. The screen showed wreckage, broken ships, debris floating in the darkness of space. The remains of his fleet, 300 ships, gone. 15,000 warriors, dead, all of them. Behind a protective energy barrier, Ambassador Trell cowered. He had 4 arms, and all of them shook with terror. His voice was barely a whisper, but in the silent chamber, everyone heard him clearly. "Coalition ambush," he said. "They knew where your fleet would be. They used the Nexus Point coordinates. The ones we thought were secret. The ones we thought were safe." Vexthor did not move, but the temperature in the room climbed. 50 degrees. 60. 70. The cooling system screamed to life, trying desperately to keep everyone from cooking alive. They failed. One by one, the systems overloaded and died. You knew. Vexthor's voice was like an earthquake, deep, rumbling, shaking everything. The council knew this would happen. He turned slowly. His tail, thick as a tree trunk, scraped across the floor. The reinforced metal cracked under its weight. Sparks flew where his claws dug into the ground. Around the chamber, 47 ambassadors, leaders from 47 different alien species, ran for their lives. They did not walk. They did not hesitate. They ran like children fleeing a nightmare. Some had legs. Some had tentacles. Some floated on anti-gravity fields. But all of them fled. Even the warriors ran. The Kthari battle masters, who had fought in 100 wars, abandoned their posts without shame. The Valerian Guard, famous across the galaxy for their courage, dropped their weapons and scattered. Near the main entrance, Commander RHYX stood frozen. He was young for a commander, and his hands shook as he gripped his plasma rifle. The weapon hummed with deadly power, but what good was it? What good was any weapon against this? "Sir," RHYX said to his captain, "Sir, we need to evacuate the entire sector. If he releases his plasma breath, if he unleashes that fire inside him, the station hull will—" "I know what will happen." Captain Oren grabbed the young officer by the shoulder and pulled him backward. "Fall back. Everyone fall back. We have lost control." They had indeed lost control. Station security tried to activate containment fields, energy barriers designed to hold even the most dangerous prisoners. The fields flickered to life for half a second, then exploded. The psychic pressure radiating from Vexthor's rage was too strong. It overloaded every system within 100 meters. Inside the chamber, Vexthor's chest began to glow. It started as a dull orange, like heated metal in a forge. Then brighter, bright orange, yellow. The light pulsed between the scales, each pulse stronger than the last. He was building plasma inside his body, the same superheated fire that could melt through starship armor, the same fire that had destroyed planets. His jaw opened slightly. Inside, an inferno raged. The air around his mouth ignited spontaneously, burning without fuel. One blast. That was all it would take. One release of that plasma breath, and the station would rupture like an overripe fruit. 30,000 beings lived on this station. 30,000 lives would end in an instant, and the fragile peace that held the galaxy together, the careful treaties, the delicate agreements, the centuries of diplomacy, all of it would shatter. The Council had done this. They had orchestrated the ambush. They had killed his people, betrayed his warriors, murdered 15,000 Draconians who had trusted their leaders. And now they would pay the price. Vexthor drew in a breath. The air itself caught fire as it rushed into his lungs. The heat was unbearable. Metal surfaces began to melt. The floor beneath him glowed red hot. This was the end. The end of the station. The end of peace. Perhaps the end of the galaxy as they knew it. But then, something impossible happened. A sound cut through the chaos. Small sounds. Light sounds. Footsteps. The blast doors. 3 feet of reinforced titanium carbide alloy. The strongest metal known to science. Simply slid open. Not forced. Not broken. Just open. As if someone had pressed a button. A child walked through. She could not have been more than 8 years old. A human child. Small. Fragile. She had dark hair tied back in a simple ponytail. She wore a maintenance jumpsuit that was far too big for her tiny frame. The sleeves hung past her hands. The legs bunched up around her ankles. In her arms, she carried a stuffed bear. It was old and worn, with one eye missing and patches sewn into its fur. She walked forward, past the scorch marks on the walls, past the twisted metal, past the shattered control consoles, past the unbearable heat that should have turned her into ash. She walked right up to the dragon, and she looked up at him with wide, curious eyes. "Dad." Her voice was small but perfectly clear in the devastated chamber. "Why are you so angry?" Vexthor froze. The plasma building in his chest sputtered, flickered, died. The heat stopped rising. The gravitational distortion ceased. For the first time in 3 hours, the most feared warrior in the entire galaxy stood completely still. The child tilted her head, waiting patiently for an answer. From the observation deck high above the diplomatic chamber, Ambassador Trell pressed all 4 his hands against the reinforced glass. His eyes were wide with shock. He could not believe what he was seeing. "What is that child doing?" he whispered. Station Administrator Vorn stood beside him, equally stunned. "That is Engineer Lee's daughter. Hannah. But how did she get through the lockdown? Every door is sealed. Every corridor is blocked." Captain Oren stared down at the small figure standing before the dragon. His voice was barely audible. She should not be alive. The heat alone should have killed her instantly. But Hannah Lee stood there, completely unharmed. She stood in the heart of an inferno that had melted metal and shattered machinery. The air around Vexthor still shimmered with impossible heat. Yet the little girl showed no signs of pain or fear. She looked up at the massive dragon with the same expression a child might have when examining a puzzle box. Curious, patient, completely unafraid. "You look sad," she said in her small, clear voice. "Are you hurt?" Vexthor's enormous head lowered slowly. Those burning eyes that had made warlords drop to their knees in terror, focused on the tiny human standing before him. For a long moment, he simply stared at her. Then he spoke. His voice, which a moment ago had shaken the entire station, was now barely a whisper. I know you." Hannah's face lit up with a bright smile. "You remember me. I was not sure you would. You were really sick last time." She held up her stuffed bear, the one with the missing eye. "Mr. Bear remembers too. You said he was a good guardian." The Council's emergency broadcast system suddenly crackled to life. "Vexthor, step away from the child immediately. We will not allow you to harm an innocent." "Silence." One word from the dragon, and every communication system in the entire sector went dead. Screens went black. Speakers fell silent. The galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath. Vexthor knelt down. Slowly, carefully, he moved like someone approaching a fragile piece of glass. His massive head lowered until it was level with the small girl. "How are you here, little one? How did you find me?" "Daddy works here now. He fixes the big engines." Hannah reached out without any hesitation and touched Vexthor's scaled snout. Her tiny hand barely covered one of the scales. "But I heard you were sad and angry, so I came to help." Up in the observation deck, Captain Oren was frantically working his control panel. "I need information on this child. Everything. Now." Data flooded onto his screen within seconds. Hannah Lee, 8 years old. Father, Marcus Lee, maintenance engineer. Mother, deceased. Relocated to Axis Prime Station 3 months ago from Earth. Earth, That primitive planet far away in Sector 447, the one under strict developmental protection. Humans were not supposed to have contact with advanced alien species. Certainly not with Draconians. Pull up the girl's complete file, Orin commanded. There has to be something we are missing. Administrator Vorin found it first. Look at this. The residential history. She lived on Earth at specific coordinates. For 2 months, 3 years ago, there is a gap. No surveillance data. No records. Nothing. 3 years ago. Captain Orin's blood went cold. Vexthor disappeared 3 years ago. He was missing for 2 months. We thought he had been captured or killed during a secret mission. But if he was on Earth. Down in the chamber, Hannah was talking animatedly. Her small hands moved as she spoke, the way children do when they are excited. And I brought you water in the big bowl, remember? You could not walk. So I made you a bed with all the hay from the barn. Daddy did not know because you were hidden and he never went there. I had to be very quiet. Vexthor closed his eyes. A sound came from deep in his chest. Not a growl, not a roar. Something far more devastating. A sound of pure emotion. A sob. You saved me, the dragon whispered. Each word seemed to cause him pain, but not physical pain. Something deeper. You pulled me from the wreckage of my ship. You fed me. You cared for me, a child, and I was supposed to be your enemy. You were not my enemy, Hannah said, looking confused. You were hurt, and alone, and scared. When you could finally talk, you told me stories about the stars. Her smile returned. You said I was brave. You said I had a warrior's heart. I called you little protector, Vexthor said softly. I called you my kin. And you taught me how to be strong, Hannah continued. You said that being strong does not mean being mean. Being strong means protecting people who need help. Her voice dropped to a whisper. You also said that even dragons need someone to care for them. Vexthor opened his eyes. For the first time in many years, tears ran down his armored face. They sizzled when they hit his superheated scales, turning to steam. I searched for you. When I recovered and returned to my ship, I tried to find the barn, the farm, the child who showed me that not everything in the galaxy is cruel and cold, but humanity was protected, hidden from us. I thought I would never see you again. But I found you. Hannah beamed with pride. Daddy got this job on the station. I heard about a dragon general who worked here. I knew it had to be you. So I waited for the right time to come see you. And this was the right time? Vexthor gestured with one claw at the destruction around them. Broken machinery. Melted floors. Scorch marks on every surface. You needed me, Hannah said simply, as if that explained everything. As if walking into the path of a dragon consumed by rage was the most natural thing in the world. As if it was obvious. Vexthor lowered his head completely. He pressed his scaled forehead gently against the child's small hands. I didn't need you. I still do. His voice broke. They killed my warriors, little one. They betrayed us. The council set a trap. And in my fury, in my rage, I almost became the monster they think I am. But you did not, Hannah said. She stroked the scales between his eyes with her small fingers. It was a gesture she had done 3 years ago, when he was wounded and frightened in that barn on Earth. You stopped. You stopped because you're not a monster. You are my dad. The word hung in the air like a bell that had just been rung. Dad. Not general. Not warrior. Not weapon. Not the scourge of the frontier. Not the dragon who had conquered star systems. Not the nightmare that made empires tremble. Dad. In the observation deck, Ambassador Trell slowly lowered his weapon. His voice was filled with awe and fear. By the ancients, she is bonded with him. Truly bonded. That is impossible, another ambassador protested. Draconians do not bond with anyone. They barely tolerate their own kind. They are solitary, aggressive, incapable of emotional attachment. Captain Orin was reading reports on his screen. His face had gone pale. Humans. We have been studying them for possible first contact. There were reports. Strange reports. They form emotional connections with other species. Deep connections. We thought it was just a social quirk. But this is dangerous. Administrator Vorn finished the thought. Down in the chamber, Vextor carefully lifted Hannah in his massive clawed hand. He cradled her as gently as one might hold a butterfly. You should not be here, little protector. It is too dangerous. The council chamber had never been so silent. You could hear the hum of the lights, the soft breathing of dozens of alien beings, the quiet rustle of Hannah's jumpsuit as she sat on Vextor's massive shoulder. The dragon stood at the center of the room. He no longer radiated fury and heat. Now, he radiated something else. Determination. Ironclad will. His posture said clearly that nothing in the galaxy could move him from this spot. Hannah sat on his shoulder like a bird on a branch. Her small legs dangled in the air. She seemed completely comfortable, completely at ease, as if sitting on a dragon's shoulder was something she did every day. Near them stood Marcus Lee, Hannah's father. He was a human engineer, ordinary in every way except for the expression on his face. Half of that expression was pure terror. The other half was fierce protective love. His eyes kept moving between his daughter and the dragon, calculating, watching, ready to act if needed. High Chancellor Vorthak stood before them. He had 3 eyes, and all 3 focused on Marcus with laser intensity. You will explain this, the Chancellor said. His voice was cold and hard. Your species is under developmental protection. Category 4. That means no contact with advanced civilizations. None. Yet your daughter has somehow formed a forbidden bond with a draconian warrior. How? Marcus's jaw tightened. You could see the muscles working in his cheek. I did not know. 3 years ago, I was working night shifts at a technology facility on Earth. My wife had just died. Hannah was grieving. She spent time alone in our old barn. His voice cracked slightly. I thought she was talking to imaginary friends. I thought it was her way of dealing with the loss. I was not imagining. Hannah spoke up from Vextor's shoulder. Dad was real. He was hurt and needed help. Ambassador Trellas' 4 arms waved in agitation. You hit a wounded Draconian general? Do you understand the magnitude of... She was 5 years old. Marcus's voice rose, sharp with anger. She saw someone suffering, and she helped. That is what humans do. That is what children do. They help. That, said Commander Zelrus of the Antaran Collective, is precisely the problem. Silence fell again. This silence was different. It was heavy, dangerous. Marcus looked around at all the alien faces. Some looked angry. Some looked afraid. All of them were staring at him with an intensity that made his skin crawl. What do you mean that is a problem? High Chancellor Vorthak stepped forward. Your species has a unique ability, Engineer Lee. A dangerous ability. You form genuine emotional bonds with any sentient species. Any species at all. It does not matter if they are biologically compatible. It does not matter if they are culturally different. It does not even matter if they are hostile. You simply connect. You make it sound like a disease, Marcus said quietly. To some of us, it is a disease. Zelrus moved closer. Emotional bonds are dangerous. Engineer. They override logic. They override political necessity. They override strategic advantage. Your daughter formed a bond with General Vextor, a being responsible for millions of deaths in war. She looked past a monster and saw a person. That ability could destabilize everything we have built. Vextor's growl rumbled through the chamber like distant thunder. You speak of stability built on betrayal? You speak of order built on using species as weapons and tools. We speak of order that keeps the galaxy from tearing itself apart. Vorthak slammed his appendage on the control console. The sound echoed. Order that prevents constant war. If humans can make warriors loyal to individuals instead of causes, if they can turn enemies into friends with simple compassion, if they can make strategic decisions become emotional. He paused. Your species could undo centuries of carefully maintained power structures. Captain Oren stepped forward from where he had been standing against the wall. With respect, Chancellor, perhaps that is not entirely negative. We have reviewed classified reports. Humans have had limited contact with 47 different species over the past decade. This happened despite all our protection protocols. In every single case, they created positive connections. No conflicts, no wars, no manipulation, just friendship. Friendship is manipulation by another name, Zelrus argued. No. Hannah's small voice cut through the debate like a knife through cloth. Every eye turned to the child sitting on the dragon's shoulder. Friendship is when you care about someone even when it's hard, even when they are scary, even when they are different, even when they make mistakes. That is not tricks. That is just being nice. Marcus felt his heart swell with pride. My daughter is right. Humans do not weaponize friendship. We just see people, not species, not political tools, not assets. We see people. Which is exactly why you are dangerous, Vorthak said quietly. The threat in his voice was unmistakable. A proposal has been circulating among council members, Engineer Lee, to quarantine Earth, to prevent your species from infecting the rest of the galaxy with your emotional bonds. Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. You would imprison an entire planet because we are capable of caring about others. We would protect the Galactic Order. Who ordered the attack on my fleet? Vexthor's voice was deadly calm. The kind of calm that comes before a storm. The chamber grew tense. Everyone held their breath. That information is classified. Vorthak began. Who ordered the attack? Vexthor repeated. Each word was sharp as a blade. The Chancellor's eyes darted sideways. Just for a fraction of a second, just a glance at 3 other council members. It was barely noticeable, but it was enough. Captain Oren's control panel blinked with incoming data. He read the intelligence report, and his face went white as snow. The fleet coordinates. They were leaked from council security networks. Only 3 members had access to those codes. He looked up, his voice shaking. The attack was orchestrated from inside the council itself. Chaos erupted. Voices shouted over each other. Lies! This is completely absurd. How dare you accuse? Silence! Vexthor's roar shook dust from the ceiling. Every voice stopped immediately. You killed my warriors. 15,000 lives. You murdered them to eliminate me before I could reveal the human connection. Before I could show the galaxy that your precious order is built on denying the very thing that makes civilization worth protecting. High Chancellor Vorthak's composure cracked like thin ice. You were becoming a liability. Your affection for a human child made you unpredictable. It made you weak. Weak! Vexthor's eyes blazed. He carefully lifted Hannah from his shoulder and set her gently beside her father. Then he straightened to his full 12-foot height. Every scale on his body shifted, creating a sound like swords being drawn. He looked like a warrior ready for battle. Let me show you, the dragon said, what love makes me. Marcus grabbed Hannah, pulling her close, shielding her with his body. General, no. But Vexthor was not moving toward violence. Instead, he tapped a command on the device strapped to his forearm. A holographic display appeared in the air, showing dozens of different species, hundreds of individual faces. Captain Oren stared at the tactical display with a grim expression. The holographic screen showed a weapon platform moving through space, heading toward a small blue planet. 17 hours, he said. His voice was heavy with doom. That is how long we have before the weapon reaches Earth's orbit. Once it gets in range, it will sterilize the entire planet. Marcus Lee's face turned the color of ash. His hands shook. 8 billion people. My home. They do not even know it is coming. They are just living their lives, and they have no idea. Administrator Vorn shifted uncomfortably. We cannot warn them. Earth is under communication blackout. First contact protocols forbid us from. To hell with protocols. Marcus slammed his fist down on the control console, so hard it made a cracking sound. Those are people down there. Children. Families. My mother lives on Earth. We have to do something. Hannah tugged on Vexthor's claw. She had been very quiet, which was unusual for her. Dad, cannot your ship stop the bad weapon? Vexthor knelt down, bringing his enormous head level with the small girl. My fleet is gone, Lord Protector. I have no ships fast enough to intercept the weapon. I have nothing. But Hannah's lower lip began to tremble. Her eyes filled with tears. But Grandma lives on Earth, and my friends from my old school, and all the people, and... Her voice broke. You said you would protect my people. I will. Vexthor's voice was like iron, strong, unbreakable. I swear it on my honor. I will protect them. How? Commander Zelrus sneered from across the chamber. You have no fleet. You have no weapons capable of reaching the platform in time. Your precious human compassion cannot stop a quantum destabilizer bomb. Vexthor ignored him. He kept his eyes on Hannah. Little one, when I was wounded in your barn, how did you know what I needed? The girl wiped her eyes with her sleeve. I just asked you, and you told me. And when you could not lift the water bowl because it was too heavy, I got creative. I used the pulley system from the hay loft to lift it. And when I was too weak to eat the food, I broke it into tiny pieces. Made it easier for you to swallow. Vexthor smiled. On a dragon's face, a smile looked terrifying, but somehow it also looked warm. You solve an impossible problem. Little one, you used what you had. You asked for help. You got creative. He stood up and addressed the entire council. We do the same now. There are no ships fast enough. Vorthak began. Wrong. Vexthor activated the holographic display. There are ships. They arrived 15 minutes ago, remember? 17 different species, each one with vessels. Captain Oren studied the readouts on his screen. General, with respect, those are mostly civilian craft. Traders, research vessels, a few light escorts. None of them have the firepower to destroy a military-grade weapon platform. We do not need firepower. Vexthor's claw traced a path on the holographic display. We need speed and precision. The platform is automated. It follows a preset course. It will not change direction unless it detects a direct threat. So we do not threaten it. I do not follow, Vorn said, confused. Marcus leaned forward. His engineer's mind was starting to understand. You're going to redirect it. No. Vexthor's eyes gleamed. We are going to dismantle it. Take it apart piece by piece. He pulled up technical schematics on the screen. Somehow, he had already obtained the weapon's complete design. The platform has 17 critical junctions, power couplings. If we remove all 17 simultaneously, at the exact same moment, the weapon becomes inert. No explosion, no fail-safes triggering, just a very expensive piece of space junk. Simultaneously, Oren repeated slowly, across a structure the size of a small moon, while it is traveling at 0.7 light speed. That is impossible. Impossible, Zelrus declared with finality. Hannah stood up on the control console. Her small figure addressed the entire chamber full of powerful aliens. You said humans make friends everywhere, that we connect with everyone, right? She pointed to the assembled fleet shown on the display screen. So ask them, ask our friends to help. Vexthor placed a gentle claw on her shoulder. Out of the mouth of babes comes wisdom. He activated the communication system. This is General Vexthor to all vessels in the vicinity. I need 17 crews. 17 precise strikes. One chance to save a planet. A planet that some of you have worked with, traded with, learned from. The communication channel crackled. Then a voice came through. This is Captain Yuri of the Belizean Trader Consortium. We have dealt with humans for 6 years. Good people, honest people. We are in Research Vessel Luminous Dawn here. We collaborated with human scientists on the Proxima project. They shared their discoveries freely. We will help. Count us in. Cthari Scout Division reporting. We fought alongside human auxiliaries at the borderlands. They saved our lives when they could have run. We will save theirs now. One by one, ships declared their commitment. Traders, scientists, explorers, even a few military vessels whose commanders had worked with human liaisons in secret. Within minutes, 17 crews had volunteered. This is insane, Zelrus muttered. They are risking everything for a species they barely know. That is what friendship is. Hannah said simply, as if explaining something obvious to a small child. Vexthor began coordinating the attack. Each team needs to hit their junction within a nanosecond of each other. The platform sensors will detect the first breach and activate defenses. We need perfect synchronization. Perfect timing. How? Orin asked. There is no time to program that kind of precision across 17 different ship systems. They all use different technology. Marcus stepped forward. I can do it. I am a systems engineer. If I can access each ship's navigation core, I can create a synchronized countdown, a master timer, but I will need to physically connect to each vessel's computer. There is no time to travel to 17 ships, Vorn protested. No, Hannah said, her eyes lighting up an idea. But Daddy can do it from here if the ships come to him. Within 30 minutes, representatives from each crew had docked at the station. Marcus worked frantically. His fingers flew over control panels. He created a network timing system that would synchronize every ship down to the nanosecond. Sweat dripped down his face, but he did not stop. Vexthor coordinated the approach vectors. Team 7, you are coming in too steep. Adjust by 0.3 degrees. Team 12, your ship's mass will create gravitational distortion. You need to compensate. I know, the Kthari commander interrupted. Humans taught us that trick. An engineer named Lisa showed us how to use gravitational wobble for precision docking. Vexthor smiled again. Humans, teaching the galaxy without even knowing it. 12 hours passed. The weapon platform drew closer to Earth with every second. All teams in position. Orin reported. Marcus looked up from his console. His eyes were red from exhaustion. Synchronization locked. Everyone is connected to the master timer. On my mark, they will have exactly 4.3 seconds to breach their junctions and remove the couplings. Why 4.3 seconds? Zelrus asked. The medical bay was silent except for one sound. A child crying. Quiet sobs that broke the heart of everyone who heard them. Marcus held his daughter close as she curled into a small ball. Her arms clutched her stuffed bear so tight that her knuckles turned white. Around them stood beings from a dozen different species. All of them were silent. All of their faces showed the same thing. Grief. He is gone, Hannah whispered through her tears. Dad is gone. Captain Orin stood nearby, but he could not look at the child. He could not meet her eyes. The sensor readings had been absolutely clear. No life signs. No debris large enough to contain a living being. Vexthor had literally spread himself across space to redirect the weapon's blast away from the 17 ships. A sacrifice. Complete. Final. The dragon was gone. I am sorry, little one, Marcus whispered into his daughter's hair. His own voice was breaking. I am so sorry. The doors of medical bay slid open with a soft hiss. A Draconian commander entered. His name was General Kale. He was one of Vexthor's surviving officers from a distant outpost. His scales were covered in old scars. His posture was rigid with military discipline. The human child, he said in a gravelly voice. Where is she? Marcus instinctively moved to shield Hannah. He positioned his body between his daughter and the dragon warrior. But Kale simply knelt down on one knee. Lady Hannah, he said formally, I am General Kale. I served under Vexthor for 30 years. His harsh voice softened slightly. He sent a final transmission. Before the end. He wanted you to know that saving you and your world was the greatest honor of his entire existence. Fresh tears streamed down Hannah's face. He also said something else. Kale continued. He reached into his armor and pulled out a small crystal. It glowed faintly with inner light. You once told him that a wounded warrior could heal if someone believed in them. Do you remember saying that? Hannah nodded. She could not speak. Her throat was too tight with grief. He asked if he would believe one more time. Before anyone could ask what that meant, the medical bay sensors began shrieking. Alarms blared. Every monitor lit up at once, showing readings that should not be possible. Energy signature. A medic shouted, staring at a screen in disbelief. Massive energy signature detected. Incoming fast. Battle stations. Captain Oren commanded, thinking they were under attack. All personnel to... No, General Kale said calmly. He did not move from his kneeling position. Look at the screen. On the main view screen, a small object appeared in the distance. It grew larger as it approached. The shape resolved into something recognizable. Something impossible. Vexthor's ship, broken, burning, barely holding together. But there, and inside, life signs. The medic's voice cracked with emotion. Faint, but present. It is him. He is alive. The entire medical bay exploded into frantic activity. Emergency crews scrambled. Docking procedures were initiated at record speed. Within minutes, they had pulled the shattered craft into the station's hangar bay. Hannah was the first one through the airlock door. She ran as fast as her small legs could carry her. Marcus ran behind her, calling her name, but she did not stop. Vexthor lay in what remained of his cockpit. His obsidian scales were cracked and dull, no longer shining. Burns covered his entire body. Medical scanners screamed warnings. Every reading said he should be dead. Every logical analysis said survival was impossible. But his eyes opened when Hannah's small hand touched his claw. Little protector. Each word seemed to cause him terrible pain. You came back, Hannah sobbed. Her tears fell onto his damaged scales. You came back to me. I promise. Vexthor's breathing was shallow and labored. Promise to protect your people. Could not break promise to you. Medical teams swarmed around them. Doctors from multiple species worked frantically. Scanners beeped. Equipment hummed. But it was clear to everyone. Vexthor was dying. His body had taken damage that no being could survive. He was holding on through sheer willpower alone. Please do not leave me, Hannah whispered. She held his massive claw in both her tiny hands. Please, Dad. Please stay. Trying. The dragon breathed. But so tired. Marcus knelt beside his daughter. His own eyes were wet with tears. You saved billions of lives. You are a hero. No, just a dragon who found a daughter. Vexthor's eyes started to close. No. Hannah climbed up onto his chest, placing her small hands on his scarred face. You listened to me. You told me that believing in someone gives them strength. You told me that caring about someone makes them stronger. So I believe in you now. I believe you can heal. I believe you will stay with me. For a moment, nothing happened. The medical equipment continued its dire warnings. The doctors shook their heads sadly. Then something impossible occurred. Vexthor's breathing steadied. Just slightly. The monitors showed a tiny improvement in his vital signs. Not much, but something. A draconian. Doctor stared at his scanner in confusion. This cannot be. His cellular regeneration is responding to... I do not understand what I am seeing. More dragons arrived. Vexthor surviving commanders from distant posts. They entered the medical bay, expecting to find their general dead. Instead, they found him surrounded by dozens of beings from multiple species. All of them were there because of one human child. General Kale approached the lead medical officer. What is happening? I do not know, the doctor admitted. His wounds are still critical. He should be dead, but his life signs are stabilizing. Slowly, very slowly, as if something is keeping him alive. Something our instruments cannot measure. Kale looked at Hannah, who had curled up against Vexthor's chest, refusing to leave. The child. Impossible, the doctor said. Human presence cannot affect draconian physiology. You are thinking like a scientist, Kale said quietly. Think like a warrior instead. She believes he will survive, and he cannot disappoint her. He will not allow himself to die while she still needs him. Hours passed. Hannah refused to move. She told Vexthor stories. The same stories she had told him 3 years ago in that barn on Earth. Stories about brave knights and kind dragons. Stories about friendship and loyalty. And slowly, impossibly, Vexthor's condition improved. His breathing grew stronger. His damaged scales began to show faint color. His eyes opened more clearly. 3 days later, Vexthor sat up. Medical staff surrounded him in amazement. His wounds were healing at a rate that defied all scientific explanation. How? Marcus asked. How did you survive? Vexthor looked at Hannah, who sat on his shoulder once again. She believed I would. So I did. Love is more powerful than any weapon, stronger than any armor. It kept me alive when nothing else could. The council was reformed. New members were elected. Human representatives were included for the first time. Earth was recognized not as a primitive species, but as bridge builders, teachers of what the galaxy had forgotten. Vexthor was offered the position of Supreme Commander of all Council forces. He accepted on one condition. My human daughter becomes my official advisor, he said. The end.